Jessie here. Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. For today's video, I am going to be closing out my paycheck budget from the second week in August. We're gonna see how I did, if I stuck to my budget or not. I already filmed a expense tracking video for the week where I talked about all of our spending. So if you missed that video, you're gonna wanna go back and check it out. I'm gonna be using that information to fill in my paycheck budget worksheet right here. So the way that I've been doing my budgeting in August is every single week I write out a paycheck budget. It is using money that we earned with our paycheck on Tuesday, and we budget that money for the next 7 days. And then I close out this budget, and then the following week I write up a new one. So I'm only having to look at 7 days at a time with my budget. It's a much simpler process than how I was doing it before with my hybrid budget worksheet. I still love that method of budgeting, don't get me wrong, but it's a lot easier to just look at 1 week at a time. It's easier to get a feeling for what I will be spending. It's a lot easier for me to predict what I'm going to spend over the next 7 days versus the next 30 days, right? So this is week 2. I started out with a total of $1,700.73, and for September's bills, I budgeted $700. So if you haven't seen one of my videos in a while, I used some money that I had in savings to get me a month ahead for our bills. So I have enough money in my checking account right now to pay all of August's bills. And then each week I'm putting aside a chunk of money, moving it from one account to the other so that I have money set aside for September's bills. So that is what is here. I budgeted $700. If you look here on my expense tracker down here, you can see that I did transfer that $700 to our bills account. And so that was $700 as anticipated. So that's what I budgeted. That is what I spent. For variable spending, okay. Went a little bit off the rails with my spending this week. So you can see for groceries, I budgeted $250. The grocery transactions are in pink here. Added everything up, I actually spent $305.35. So we were over budget this week in groceries, which is no bueno. It's not great. Luckily, these other categories here in my variable spending, I came in under budget in, and I think that's going to help offset the overspending. But still not great. We hit up a new Aldi in our area this week, and that definitely contributed to this. Also, we've been doing a lot of stopping at gas stations for drinks. So I need to stop doing that because that's really killing my budget here. But either way, $305.35. It's not the worst we've ever done in a week for sure, but definitely more than I would like. For eating out, I budgeted $150. And the amount that we actually spent was $99.49, so not too bad. And then for spending, I budgeted $100. You can see here we only spent $26. Since I set up our sinking funds, our short-term savings, I've been spending a lot less week to week, which is good news. Okay, so let me really quickly add it up. I already have it added up here, but I just want to double check my own math. So I'm going to add it up again. So we have $305.35 plus $99.49 plus 26. Yep, $430 with 84 cents. So even though I overspent in groceries, I underspent in these other categories enough to offset that overspending, and we came in under budget for this section in my budget, which is called cash envelopes. But I don't really use cash for these categories anymore. When I designed this budget worksheet, I was using cash regularly for my variable expenses. Not really doing that anymore. I just haven't updated the worksheet yet. So this says checking, but it's really more like our fixed expenses. And then this has cash envelopes, but really it's our variable expenses. So overall, I'm very happy with our variable expenses this week. I did budget these numbers high, but I came in under budget, so I will take it, even though our grocery shopping was a little out of hand. It often gets out of hand, if I'm being honest. All right, moving up here to sinking funds. This is the money that I budgeted to set aside for my savings challenges. Every week, I like to try to stuff $200 into my savings challenges. When I complete a savings challenge, that money gets transferred into one of my sinking funds, aka my short-term savings. So I budgeted $200. If you look here, it says right here, I took it out in cash, $200 for savings. So that is what I actually saved, which was great. I think I'm going to be able to put some extra money to sinking funds since I came in under here. So let me just do some quick math to figure out what we have kind of left over from this budget. So we started out with $1,700.73 here. That was what we actually budgeted for the week. For checking, we definitely put aside that $700 like we expected to. For cash envelopes, it was $430.84. So let's subtract that. So $1,700 was 73 cents minus 700 minus 430.84. So that leaves me with $569.84. Really? That's a lot of money. So we had $300.73 that I wanted to put towards my buffer. So if we subtract that out, that leaves me with an extra $269.16. That's definitely not right. I did something wrong here. Oh, I didn't subtract the 200, did I? So let's start over. Sorry, you guys. $1,700 with 23 cents minus 700 minus 430.84 minus this 200 minus the $300.73 leaves us with $68.66. So what I am going to do is I'm going to take $60 of that. I didn't budget for it, but since I have it left over, I'm going to put that towards our sinking funds. I'm going to stuff that in my mini savings challenge video for Friday. And so that means then that these sinking funds, I actually set aside $260. So I can stick that in here and do this math one more time to figure out what we're going to leave in our account as a buffer. $309 with 89 cents. So I talked in my I talked in my expense tracking video that you would have seen if you watched it yesterday about how I spent a bunch of money that I was going to need to pull out of my long-term savings. I definitely still plan to do that, but I may also use some of this buffer money so I don't have to take quite as much out of that long-term savings. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, we did some back to school shopping. I didn't want to take the money out of my sinking funds because I just started those. There's not enough money in there for me to start like spending it just yet. So I was going to take it out of long-term savings. I still can do that, but since this buffer is getting up there, I may use some of this money for that as well. If you want to see a whole video breaking down what I spent and where that money is going to come from, leave me a comment down below. Let me know. I'd be happy to film that for you. But for now, we're going to go ahead and close this out. So I'm going to take this $60 that we had left over because we came in under budget, and I'm going to stuff that into my mini savings challenges. You will see that video on Friday, so that'll be tomorrow. Be on the lookout for that. I've been having a lot of fun with those mini savings challenges. I'm glad I had extra money to be able to put towards those. And now I'm going to go ahead and set up my paycheck budget for week 3, which I have right here. So the paycheck that my husband and I receive on week 3 or for week 3 rather, we will receive that on August 13th. So it is the paycheck for August 13th through the 19th. Is that right? Yep, 13th through the 19th. All right, and so since I'm gonna use this buffer money most likely to help offset some of the spending that we did this past week, I'm not gonna roll this over to include in our budget for week 3. So we won't have a buffer. This will just be money that we pull from my husband's paycheck and my paycheck. It's not all of our income, it's just the income we have set aside for this paycheck budget. And that amount is $1,500. So that's the amount we are starting with. Once again, as with every paycheck budget, we need to set aside a portion of next month's bills so we can stay a month ahead. So for September's bills, this is going to be exactly the same. We're going to budget $700. And that's it in terms of fixed expenses. I used to make this way more complicated by listing out every single bill that was due and writing it in. This is so much easier. I just put all the money into one account and I pay all of my bills through that account. As long as I have enough money in there, which so far so good, knock on wood, it's been going really well, I stay a month ahead. So that's great. I definitely could see myself adding more money to this month ahead fund if we have it left over, because it's definitely not a bad thing to have extra money in there, but $700 each week is working out so far. So we're gonna stick with that. All right, in terms of variable spending this week, you guys, it's kind of a crapshoot. I'm going out of town at the end of this week. I'm leaving on Thursday and I'm gonna be gone Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I won't get home until Monday. The money I am using for that little vacation, I'm going with my sister and my cousin and my aunt. We're going to Chicago. The money I'm using for that is not going to be included in this budget. I'm going to pull that out of savings. So I don't need to worry about that here, but I am leaving my guys to their own devices in terms of meals and whatnot. I imagine they're going to do a lot of eating out, probably a lot of pizza nights. My husband and both of my boys are great cooks, so they'll probably do some cooking, but I don't know what they want in terms of groceries. I don't know if they want me to do meal prep for them. Honestly, I'm not gonna have time to do that. So they're really gonna be fully on their own. And so with that in mind, rather than, I was gonna say rather than setting up a grocery budget and an eating out budget, maybe I'll just do a food budget this week and leave them with enough money to get them through. But I'm gonna need a couple of things for my trip as well. So maybe I'll just break it down, but I'm not gonna worry too much if we go over budget in one category and we're under budget in another. So, you know, if I budget, here's what I'll do. For groceries, I'm gonna stick, I was gonna say I'm gonna stick with $250. I'm gonna budget $300 for groceries. And for eating out, I'm gonna stick with the $150. So that means $450 in food. That should be more than enough for them. Even if they eat out like almost every single day, they should still be fine, hopefully. I don't really know what their plan is, but I'm gonna tell them this is what they have to work with. Whether they go grocery shopping, whether they eat out, I don't care. They're all grown-ups for the most part. I mean, Austin's 16, but they're all old enough to make those decisions on their own. They don't need me trying to mother them from a totally different state. So that's what I'm gonna budget. Hopefully they don't spend more than that. You know, there's only so much I can do if I'm not here to keep them on track with the budget, right? And then for spending, yeah, I'm gonna stick with $100 for spending. So whatever sort of mix they do with this money, $550 to get them through the week for their variable spending. They should be fine with that. That is what that is, right? 300 plus 150 plus 100. Hopefully they won't spend this much, but I want to make sure that I've got my bases covered. They shouldn't need to spend any more than this, right? I wouldn't think so. All right, for our short-term savings, we're gonna go ahead and do what we have been doing and budget $200. If we have money left over at the end of next week, I will do extra to our mini savings challenges. For now, I'm not gonna budget for that. We'll just have to see if we have anything left. If my boys don't spend all the money, we'll have money to put into our minis. So that's a total of $200. You guys know we've paid off all our credit cards, so we're not focusing on extra debt right now. So let's fill in these totals. We're starting with $1,500. That's $700 going to our fixed expenses, $550 to variable, $200 to short-term savings, nothing to extra debt. So let's do the subtraction here. $1,500 minus $700 minus $550 minus $200, minus $200. That's going to leave us with $50 remaining as a little buffer for if anybody goes over budget. We'll have an extra $50. We also, like I said, have savings that we can dig into if we need to. I really don't know how this week is going to go. It's going to be different for sure with me being out of town. Hopefully it'll go really well. I'm the spender in our family, so hopefully we will come in way under budget without me here like spending money. But we shall see. That is the paycheck budget for the week. And that's everything I have for you guys. So if you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. That really helps out my channel. If you have not yet subscribed, I would love it if you would do that. Click the subscribe button. You can also join my channel membership for bonus content, as well as access to my budget worksheets here that you can download and print yourself. If you join at the tiers that offer those budgets, all of that information is in the description box below. You can also just go and buy my worksheets if you prefer to do it that way from Etsy as digital downloads. That link will be down below as well. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys real soon. Bye.